to that, of course, in a few minutes' time as well, because that is some, as you said, some really big news for you and some exciting news for you. But we'll start as we normally do. We'll start off then with the scores from the weekend, and we'll go into the Isthmian Prem. Bishop Stortford 1, AFC Hornchurch 0.
Yeah, their run continues, doesn't it? On a great run. Jamie's doing really well over there now, and I think they've got themselves right up into a really threatening position, which, if they would have had a half decent start, I think they could be not walking away with it, because that's a bit harsh, but I think they would be top or definitely challenging Tunbridge at the moment. Hornchurch don't normally concede when it goes. They obviously won, isn't really, but unlike them, not to score as well with the firepower they've got. But yeah, great home win there. Decent crowd as well, mate.
3-3-2. So great little crowd there as well for Bishop Stortford. Brighton C 0, Carlsberg Athletic 2.
Yeah, great away win for Carlsberg. Peter's done well there. We've all said what a difficult place Brighton is to go to. They've picked up a little bit recently, Carlsberg, and they would be happy with the start of their season they've had. Coming back into the league again, it's a very, very good result.
Absolutely. Dorking Wanderers 2, Corinthian Casuals 0, and Dorking march on.
Sending off as well, weren't they, Dave? Sending off in that game?
There was, there was 2.
Yeah.
3.
And there you go, Jason Price scoring, and also an interesting name for the first goal for them.
Oh, hello. Someone got excited. Tom Richards. Oh yeah.
But Jason Pryor again, like I said, it's 2 sent off. Very good crowd over at Dorking, and as you said, they're in the FA Trophy this week in a massive game. And
huge
they've
game.
got some good players with a firepower now added this year with Jason there. I think they'll go close to the playoffs. Their new stadium as well, which is good time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Worried about Corinthian Casuals though?
Yeah, I am. I said that last week. I know they picked up a couple of results, but yeah, I am a little bit worried about them, if I'm honest.
Steve, would you be a little bit worried about Corinthian Casuals?
Yeah, I think so. It's, they've done excellent to get in that division, especially with sort of the resources that they've got. But I think just sort of showing like where Hornchurch were, they really sort of stormed our division last year, and everyone was sort of predicting them to win the league and to sort of run away with it. And they're in a good position, but that's a really tough league. You've seen the teams that have gone up and struggled. Harlow, Hornchurch are in there, and it's a tough division.
Yeah. Enfield 2, Haringey Borough 2.
Oh, great game that sounds. Obviously, Haringey's in everything. I think they've replayed the cups they were in, and looking forward to Friday night. I swear they've got that in their mind, and to go up to Enfield, which is no mean feat, who's on a great run, and get a draw, just shows the sort of credit to them and the mentality they're going through at the moment. Keeps them in great stead. People saying about the crowds again. We've got 300, 500 there, Dave. It's a big thing, and this keeps Enfield going as well. And I think for the neutral, it'd be great. But again, I think this weekend could be a bit of a record for sending offs. One in that one as well.
One. Yeah, there was. Yeah, and I actually know the young man of there as well. Was actually in the same class at school as my daughter, so I actually know the young man that's actually got sent off there as well, which is unusual for him because he's not that type of player. Harlow Town 1, and they took the lead as well in the first minute. Mersham 4.
Yeah, not good, is it? They pick up a couple of results, and we're all sort of cheering them on, and then all of a sudden they lose heavily at home. And surprised, maybe not. Mersham are a sort of big footballing side, and the pitch would maybe suit Mersham over there quick. I haven't been over to Harlow for a while, but that surface has been laid for quite a while now, and I would think it's pretty bald and flat, and I think it would have rolled quite well for them. And on their day, with the pace Mersham have got, it's not a surprise they've won that, but I think there'll be a few alarm bells ringing at the moment with Harlow as well. Yeah,
and I've seen on, I've seen on Facebook and everything else a lot of very, very unhappy Harlow fans as well. Which
we spoke about this last year, Dave, as well, but it's all right being unhappy and things like that. You've either got to put faith in your man, you've still got to come and support them. Highs and lows. They managed to cheer them on last year and get them out, and they need that at the moment. And sometimes when you're losing, you do need the moans and groans don't help, and you get stuck in a rut. And the only way, if you've got a club the size of Harlow with their fan base, if they actually do, if supporters do get behind them, it will give the players a lift. If they think everyone's against them, then sometimes it turns the other way, and they just need that little bit of a push at the moment.
You worried for Harlow, Steve?
I think it's difficult because the management and the players, they won't be happy either. I mean, everyone gets up on a Saturday morning, whether you're a player, manager, chairman or whatever, and you want to go out, get a good result and win. So their weekend's probably ruined as much as the supporters. There's probably a fair weight of expectation on Harlow. They've got a nice playing surface. They've enjoyed good squads and players over the time. I'd be interested to know whether their supporters actually think that they're playing badly. I know it sounds silly, but sometimes you can be playing well, and when you're down there, nothing seems to go your way. You say they took the lead again. Obviously, Mersham come back, but again, there's good sides. You're not going into these thinking, oh, this one's a given or they're a poor side. Nearly every week in the Premier, you're coming up against a good side.
I think the concern I read on there is they seem to, or what they say is they seem to get like a decent player in or a couple of decent players in, and then another decent player goes out the door the other way. And I think that's what some of them is the concern.
Yes,
when you see some of the Facebook stuff that you see.
I think it's no different to any club, and I think Romford was the biggest one that people used to come and grab players for their circumstances, and that's something that you'll never ever change in football. Obviously, the bigger clubs will come for your players. You just got to try and nail them down and keep them. I'm hoping that your club and what you do for them, and as a manager and the club, that they want to stay. It is.
Managers have to balance budgets as well, don't they, Keith? So sometimes one in can mean one out to keep the chairman happy and to sort of balance the books as well.
Tony Noonan's come on, Dave, and said, no, we Harlow are not playing well. Changes are still clearly needed. So there's an answer for the supporter for you, mate.
Kingstonian 2, Lewis 1.
That's a very good result, Kingstonian, because Lewis are going well. Like I said to you, another sending off in that game. So the old Leeds Respect campaign ain't going too well on Halloween weekend, was it? But Lee will be happy at home to beat Lewis, who are a solid side. Yeah,
they're flying as well. They were up to them, weren't they? Leatherhead 2, Bognor Regis Town 2. Great result for Leatherhead.
Yeah, very, very good result. Bognor are a good side. I think I see a bit of highlights on the TV on their channel as well. Ex-Carlsberg Corinthian occasional centre forward Shane Akoji scored for them. They seem to be going through a few centre forwards, Leatherhead at the moment, but they need to get results. And a draw at home in nearly front of 400 against a strong Bishop Bognor Regis side is good. It's a platform to build on.
Yeah, absolutely. Margate 2, Burgess Hill Town 3.
What a result that is! That's massive. Obviously, they've come in since Chapo's gone, and results have picked up. You have seen a change, which is strange. I know people say you need a change, but Chapo's been there for a good few years at Burgess Hill, and he's done so well. And but it just seems like sometimes it doesn't work out. New manager comes in and things go well, but so it has there, and that's a massive 3 points to go to Margate on their surface as well and get a result.
And of course, going back to Arlo, not something you wanted to see either.
Definitely not. No teams below you, it's massive.
Talking about new managers, Potters Bar Town 4, Wingate and Finchley 0.
Wow, big result again. Struggling with a few results, managing Leeds, and then Wingate come along with a new manager, and that's a proper beating as well. 4-0 at home. We don't really get too many big results at that level. And they'll be able to move. It puts them nice and comfortable again going into it. I think they're in the trophy this weekend as well.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Tonbridge Angels 2, Whitehawk 0, 508.
Yeah, great result. I think it's one I would have thought they would win. Home record's very, very good, and it just keeps keeps pressure on everyone below you if you keep winning. And Steve's doing a great job over there. Really good job.
But was it one of the things that, as chairman, as manager, when you looked at that Premier Division this year, was it one of the things you looked at and thought, do you know what, Tonbridge are going to be up there this year?
Well, I thought about it the last 3 or 4 years, Dave. A club of their stature should be. Knowing Steve, and we played him in the Cup, and I spoke to him, and he tells you a little bit more about the resources they got, then maybe not at that level. I think we get carried away sometimes with club size more than the actual, what they're going through. So, and you look at their pedigree. So I think when you actually look at the whole aspect of the club and what's going on at the moment, they're doing really well. And I think they've had to take a little backwards step to come forwards, and they're doing that, and they're in a good position.
Worthing 3, Folkestone Victor 2, and of course the Worthing chairman Pete will be with us at about 8 o'clock tonight to have a chat about Worthing. But another good result for them.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's a great game as well. Folkestone always score goals. Funny. They're having a few funny results at the moment. Win one, lose one. Win one, lose one. Always difficult to go down to Worthing. They're on a very, very good run.
And almost 1,000 in there as well.
Yeah, fair play to the club. They've done so well. After this time last year, they were playing at Bognor Regis, and their pitch, the sponge they've got on it looked like a sponge after all the water and all that.
Everyone was saying there was no way back. They were going down.
And the owner, and he felt sorry for them all after they put their heart and soul into it. And fair play to them. It's a great success story. And to be fair, what I was just saying about Tunbridge, Worthing's a big place. It's a massive catchment area down there. Liam Lewis and all that, they've got a lot of resources, and good luck to them. And they should be where they are with the gates again.
Absolutely. Some great gates.
We've had a couple of people.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, before we go into the north. Yeah.
Obviously, Simon Greenhage's gone. We at Harlow could do with another Chapo being gone. We could do with, I think he said, Chapo being gone. All right, it's a bit, I bet you're entitled. Legsy, evening chaps. Yeah, thanks, mate. Is that what you've got to say? Evening.
You don't want to go too early.
Pace yourself, Legsy, yeah? Obviously, Dave Bowen's gone. Harlow need to start winning now. A couple of people just said, Glenn Driver's on as well. Hi, Glenn, how you doing, man?
And Simon is one of the ones who is, he's one of the, should we say, one of the really sort of like passionate, Harlow fans, and you listen. He speaks with sense as well.
Yeah.
So when he says something, you do look at it and think.
Dave, supporters pay their money. They're entitled to their opinion, and every single person won't disagree with you. As long as it's channelled in the right way, people will listen to you. If people sat and abuse, and I think Steve, people won't really listen to them too much. As long as if everyone can say something constructive to a committee or a manager, and most will stand there, and because sometimes something might hit home, and you sit there and think, do you know what, they might have a point there. So I don't think it's.
Well, that's the great thing about football this level, isn't it? I mean, you've got to pick your moments, not straight after the game, but you can sit there and talk to the coach or the manager or even the players and sort of say, look, we're going to turn it around, or are you bringing in any new players? Because you're right. I mean, a lot of us sort of build up to this for the weekend, don't we? And it's the old, that's my week ruined or whatever, But the manager's week's ruined as well, and so are the players. It's difficult, isn't it? I know it sounds crazy, but not everyone can be in the top 3.
Yeah.
Someone's got to be down there, and unfortunately, sort of sometimes as supporters, you think that we're a big club, or we're this, or we've got a big budget. Not sure supporters always exactly know the budget that gets thrown about, and it is difficult. But when it's your club, you need these supporters that are fiercely proud, and you need them to keep coming as well.
Well, Paul and Simon, obviously, they're coming back and talking to our ear, and Paul just part as a coach could say we're not happy. Simon's come back and gone, I think we've tried both ways, and to be fair, this is the one that maybe will make people sit up and notice a little more. Paul's just come back and got the lowest crowd in the down in the division, which isn't normally a Harlow way, which is fair point. And now, obviously, Simon's gone. People are boycotting with an official one to come. Really sad.
132.
Boycotting your own club, though, at that level is sad.
Say when I was there, we were looking at 300 plus, on some of the games, and playoff games, 700, 900, thousands.
We ain't
Wayne Rooney thing, so then we go down there and help the crowd out.
We used to hate going over there because they all get under that main stand with an air raid siren, and they all make a big noise. They had a song for every single player and what have you. It was in a nice way, but it was an intimidating place to go and play football.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So we're going to the North Division then. Barking 2, Felixstowe Walton 4. I was a bit surprised at that one. I thought Justin had got Barking back on a sort of a winning run, and I was quite surprised, if I'm honest, to see Felixstowe come up with a 4-2 win there. Yourself?
Yes, I think I looked at his squad. I think he might be a bit depleted. I think he must be, because I think one of his players spoke to one of my youth team players about going to play down there. So they might be struggling for a little bit of injuries or something at the moment. I'm not too sure. But yeah, people keep saying Felixstowe are strong. And I looked at their team as it goes the other day. They've got a few names in there, Dave. So looks a good game, but I think he'll be disappointed with a home defeat there.
Well, this one was sort of like a weird game, wasn't it? I suppose because of what happened afterwards. But Basildon United 0, Bowers and Pitsea 4. So it's, for me, the surprise of how big the gap was between the two sides, and of course also Mark resigning after the game as well. Yeah,
we're going on the first thing first. The result. Was I surprised? No. Basildon have had a great start to the season. Haven't seen them play, so I can only go on what people tell me. I thought this result was coming. Bowers are a very good side. Very good side. Play football as well. Also can mix it a little bit. They're strong. They could take maybe an aerial battle, which I've heard Basildon are a little bit about as well. And sometimes quality prevails. And if you hit a good side on their day, anything can happen. So
Bowers are really hard to break down. I think they've only let in 4 goals all season in the league. I think someone tweeted, I think it was Jamie Dix's dad actually, tweeted something like they've 9 clean sheets this season, which is it's something like that. I mean, it's really incredible. Must admit, 4 is a big. We play Basildon in a couple of weeks' time, so that'd be great for us. New manager coming in.
I think it's one of these things, Steve, that when you're a side up that obviously had a very good start to the season, and is it maybe a little bit could be cocky? All of a sudden you go a goal down and then 2 and you think, and all of a sudden the confidence goes and the reality hits home, and then and all of a sudden where you think you're really stable and solid, it all crumbles down. That could have been one of them things.
And are you surprised? I mean, I think
Just to win the next game, mate. We'll win the next game.
It surprised me though that I'm sure I read somewhere in there that the chairman or the chairmanship's sort of been split now as well, and I think Lee's then going to sort of help with the first team as well.
Well, I saw on Twitter that I think Lee put after the manager had gone, sort of thanking him for sort of all that he'd done, and that he was going to, him and another guy were going to take charge. Now I'm presuming that's in the interim while they look for another manager or find another manager, and I'm guessing that Lee will sort of combine that with his chairman duties. Now whether he's actually going to go and sit in the dugout or go in the changing room or help pick the team, I don't know. I mean, I guess that'll depend on whether the other fellas are a coach or, because I think the manager and the assistant manager went, didn't they?
Yeah,
Mark and the other guy.
It's strange why they've gone. Obviously only they know and we don't. We're just speculating. They wouldn't have gone just because of that one result. Obviously something's been brewing in the background one way or another. Might have something else in the pipeline, you don't know, Dave, but I'm sure it will come out one day. Just who do you think the candidates are? As someone asked,
I was just about to ask that. I was just about to say that to you guys. Who do you think is going to be the ones, that may be up for that job?
Well, I think the first thing when I'm the worst person to be asking, but when you're looking at that, as a chairman, I would guess you'd be thinking, what are my aspirations for the season? So if your aspirations are to give the manager a decent budget and you're still looking at getting the playoffs or go up, I would be looking for somebody who's got the credentials to do that. If you were sort of saying, right, I'm not going to have any budget at all and I just want to stay in this division, then obviously you're going to be looking at people like Magic or someone like that that's done that. But if they're looking to push on and probably get into the Premier League or something, I'd be looking for a manager that's got either a proven record at doing very well in step 4 or possibly someone who's managed at step 3 is out of a job. I mean, Jimmy Cooper's name's getting thrown up with everyone at the moment.
I think Jim would. First thing Jim's going to say to them is, why did the manager go? Because if was at the top for so long, let's say so long, at the beginning of the season, and your manager leaves, there's a reason. So that would be, as a manager of the calibre you're saying at that level, someone like Jim, that would set alarm bells ringing straight away. For me, it would. You know, it could go, we had an argument for it. It could be anything. Yeah. Could be anything. But you need to have a look. You know, there's going to be a lot of people that are out for a job at the moment.
It's an attractive job.
Yeah. I've not been there, so I couldn't.
Do you get nervous when managers' jobs come up in sort of this sort of level and above with Magic?
I don't get nervous. I mean, he's his own man, and I mean, I would never want to lose him. I've got to be realistic as well, you know. And if you equate it back to players, we had a player early in the season who was playing for us, John Nzenga, doing very, very well, and he's now gone to East Thurrock, so he's now playing 2 divisions higher, which is great for him. And since he's gone, he's played every game and hasn't come off as a sub. So when you're involved in a club, you do take a bit of pride in that. It's nice to see players go up. I think it would be difficult for somebody to come up with something very attractive for Magic to move. I'm not saying he never would, but he's embedded in the culture of the club. Like you was having your chat last week about Thamesmead, it's not just a job for him. He's been at the club, first team manager and reserve team manager for 13 years. It would be very, very difficult.
Especially with your news and all that as well.
It would be difficult. That's not to say that somebody could make an offer that he couldn't refuse. And look, let's be honest, any manager who's managing at this level, who's managed without a budget, would be thinking every week, wonder what I could do if someone gave me X amount a week, you know. Or when we play the fantasy Romford 11 and we say, you've got Alex Reid, Tom Richardson up front, we've got Callum Chafer in goal, and you know, you do that and you think, I reckon if we could get Jack Barry and you could get everyone back, I guess every club could do that. But if you could have the best 11 that you've had over the last 3 or 4 years, and you know, Magic and lots of other managers, we think, if I could have hung on to them. So and I mean, I don't know if he gets approached. He doesn't always have to tell me. He's an honourable man, so he'd do things the right way. If he was going to go and speak to them, I know he'd let me know. I mean, we just try and do the right thing, and as I say, he's ingrained in the club, and I think that makes it more difficult for people to take him away. If you're a manager and you're not working and you're keen to get back into football, and there's managers out there that say, I want to take a break, and they may not have worked this season. We're coming up to Christmas now, and they're probably itching to get back in again.
Sure. Brentwood 1, Dereham Town 2, 135.
Yeah, I see one of my ex-players tweeting about the game, but both the keepers saying that they didn't perform. Again, pretty similar to what we was talking about a little while ago. With I was having the Brent that win one, lose one, and Brentwood seemed to be going through that stage himself. So they would be disappointed to not win at home, but good result for Dereham. I think they needed it as well.
Brentwood is still in the trophy because we were due to play them on Saturday, so we haven't got a game Saturday. So.
Berrytown 1, Averley 2. 2 more off in that game as well.
Yeah, you were there. No, you weren't there. You've heard about Exeter today. Good result, to be fair. Away to Bury.
From what tweet I saw from the Averley, official Twitter, that it was the first time Averley have actually won at Bury. So it was, they were 2-0 up, then 2 players got sent off. They got one back, and from what I can gather, it was thoroughly deserved. From what I was reading down there. So Andy Freeman and Tom Richardson getting the goals 5 minutes apart. So. Yeah, great. For me, a great victory up at Bury to try and to come away with anything up there. It's a good result. Canvey Island 2, Romford 0, 200 in now. Jordan Cox and
next game. They're a good side, Canvey, but it weren't a good game. It was. If you was watching Match of the Day, that'd be on after they've shown the league table. it was pretty poor. I'm surprised at how low down Canvey are in the league. I mean, they played some good football. Again, we didn't play badly, but we can't score goals at the moment. 3 games now without scoring a goal. I think Canvey will be up there this season. Good side, got some good players. it's going to take a little while to gel. Brought in a few new players. Obviously, Dan's moved upstairs and what have you, but no, I'd expect them to kick on from there, and would be very surprised if they're not top 5 or 6 by Christmas.
Grays 3, Tilbury 2. Another one sent off.
Yeah, Kieran Bishop
back and
scored.
scoring. Yeah.
I'd expected Grays to win here, to be fair, at home. I'm surprised, we said this before, where Tilbury are in the league, but they've got some big players there, Tilbury. Just again, maybe not gelling. I don't know. Keith's there, obviously, in his sort of first proper managerial job, isn't he? So might take a bit of time to get used to it.
They've had a couple of decent results, but it's getting that run, and it's getting that 3 or 4. When you look at the league table, it's fairly sort of tight. Tilbury win their next 2 or 3 games, and all of a sudden they're almost in the playoff positions. But,
Great Waker in 1, AFC Sudbury 1.
Just can't kick on, can they, Sudbury at the moment? After we had Mark in, I don't know if they've won, have they? So it's strange, but Great Waker are going well, mate. They are going well for their first. They're back in there. One of my old players has gone down there, I think, a couple of weeks ago as well. So they must have some resources, because he wouldn't travel down there for nothing. It's a bit of a slack for him as well. So no, it's another point for him.
Yeah, I was going to say Sudbury are another side that you would expect to be up there. You've got very good youth set up there. Mark's very keen to use the youth players and what have you. So whether it's just a case of it hasn't come good yet, or he's got a mixture of sort of old heads and new heads, but they've got a fantastic setup there at Sudbury.
Absolutely. Yeah. Morden Tiptree 1, Soundtown Rangers 0. Was surprised there that it was only 1?
Really? So now we've got to adapt a little bit, haven't they? Now where they are. Whereas last year, this time last year, they were getting results. Now they've just got to try and build a platform, get a point, make themselves difficult to beat, and then each game they've got to take it from there. And the only advantage for them, the side's just above and didn't win.
And Saturday as well. What a game Saturday! They've got Whittam Saturday, so what a 6-point already that's going to be already.
It'll be a tough game.
Yeah, it's just a case now winning ugly, and it don't matter whether it comes off someone's backside in the 92nd minute. You just want that 3 points and just get a bit of daylight between you and the bottom 2.
Millwall Town 2, Coggeshall Town 4. I don't know, saw a few tweets there from the Millwall people that was hoping that Ollie was going to turn up. Whether he did or not, we don't know. But they did end up losing by 4-2. But again, Ross Wall, Sam Bantic, so they've got some firepower there.
They have, mate. They're going to go close. I've heard about the resources. Again, I haven't seen them yet. But when you've got resources like that can score goals, you've got a decent centre forward, you're going to do well, mate.
Let in a few though.
They do.
They do. I mean, we played. They went 4-0 up against us, and it ended up 5-3 and 4-2 then. So the games are always entertaining.
Yeah.
They've obviously gone down the old Newcastle route, and they will just score more than you do. So
did you get your picture taken with the boy, or did he not turn up?
He wasn't there. He wasn't there. But, I would have done if he'd have asked.
South Central, Bracknell Town 2, Hertford Town 0, 241.
Yeah, we expected that, mate. Bracknell are going well, aren't they? So, good result for them.
Cheshunt 1, Chalfont St Peter 1.
Yeah, surprised. I thought Cheshunt might get a result there. Another sending off. I know Chalfont ain't too far. I think they're just behind it, or just in front of Cheshunt, aren't they? But they're going well. I still think they're going to be there and thereabouts at the end of the year.
Marlow 4, Chipstead 0.
Yeah, they're flying. Obviously, Chipstead had a great result last week. We said that. But this league, it seems to be the top few are always winning.
And also as well in that league, I think out of all the leagues that there are, there's already a big gap between the end of the playoffs and the next person up. I think it's about 5-6 points already. So there's already a gap opening up there already.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult, that league, really, because it's not one of those where in the north and also in the south, most of the other teams. Whereas I think we've said before, haven't we, that's the division where it's sort of, I won't say everyone else, but there's a lot of teams in there.
That jigsaw league. Yeah. You just throw them in a box and shake them up and see where it comes out.
There's a lot of teams in there that won't know anything. People, Hertford won't know about Chalfont St Peter, and
And I think it could carry on being one of those leagues as well. Where it could be.
It's got to be in it.
It's sort of a mix-up league, isn't it? Because you just don't know who's going to be in there.
The south east is pretty easy, isn't it? And the north is pretty easy.
It'd be interesting at the end of the season to see, with who goes up and who wins playoffs and what have you, just to see sort of where everyone ends up next year.
Yeah, it's just going to be like if they get moved across to the Evo stick or not. That's all that's going to happen with that.
Molesley 2, Egham 0.
Come on, the Molesley.
Yeah.
They're our adopted side.
They are.
We're
Yeah.
supporting, yeah. When we ain't got a game, we're expecting to get asked to go down there. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, obviously the chair lady and that, she must be, I bet she scored both goals.
Yeah, I think she probably did. Yeah.
You know, I know they sent a nice tweet in about us last week, but Egham are in serious trouble. Obviously, they tried to change a manager. It's not working. That was a big point for both of them. I'm just pleased for them. You know, I think if we look at the crowd, I don't think they put it in.
Didn't put it in. No.
But yeah, that's a great bit of confidence.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
my adopted, supported side
Yeah.
is off on
2-0.
doing
Yeah,
well.
happy days.
Well done.
Northwood 3, Ashford Town 0.
Yeah, that's their first win for a little while. David, I know you spoke to
Steve
there,
yeah.
but no, it's a good win for them.
South Park 0, Hanwell Town 3. And we were talking about changing managers before. It still hasn't sort of kicked in there, really, is it?
No, listen, they're in trouble. I knew those. Jose Marino would struggle with them this year. They lost nearly the whole of their side to Dorking, Met Police, everyone, South Park. With the manager and that going, I don't know what's gone on down there. You know, that league will hurt them a little bit. Taking nothing away from Hanwell, who lost their centre forward in the week as well. I think he's gone to Leatherhead. The young lad, they're a strong side. So the result didn't shock me, but you know, I know, and I hate saying it out of teams, we said it before, but they're in trouble this year, South Park.
Uxbridge 2, Bedford Sports, or Bedfont Sports 3.
Yeah, good. Bedford Sports are having a good season.
96 minutes, one of the goals there. The referee forgot to blow his whistle, probably.
Well, there's a few of them. There's a few of them.
That sub-board weren't working, obviously.
Yeah, there's a few of them. But no, it obviously sounds a great game. A lot of goals this week, especially in one league.
I'm glad you mentioned sub-boards. Sub-boards, is it a league rule that you've got to use them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times I come over here
Grass everyone.
and the away teams ain't got
No, what
sub-boards.
it is now, the away
it's just
team.
unreal.
No, there's a
yours.
gentleman agreement is that you use the home teams, because if you bring yours in a car or coach and you break it, they're not. You know, so everyone that comes to our club, they can use our sub-board.
But I mean,
The
literally
referee don't have to go, look, where's your sub-board?
Yeah.
There is
But
no
what I'm saying
rule for
is,
the ref.
there's literally no, you know, I think probably once, maybe twice so
Well, you
far.
must be a particularly not hospitable club then, Dave.
Right. It's there. No, it's there because I could see the sub-board there. But
yeah,
it's,
but
you know, but
obviously
it's,
you
you
just
know.
don't ask, do you? It just says, we're just, you know,
Yeah, normally it's plopped down in the middle of the two benches and people go along and use it. You just have to make sure that someone's in charge of plugging it in at the end of the game, because we normally turn up and sort of saying, "Oh, it's not working." Anyone bother charging it up? And there's a mad rush to charge it up.
It's just some, you know, master bowler, is it?
Wolfram Abbey 0, Tooting and Mitcham 2. Shock? Not a shock. I mean, Tooting have been doing quite well lately as
No,
well.
they are, mate. They've made some signings. They've just come in for one of my players who's been injured local that's going to go there. It's not a shock, mate. They come down. They've got a lot of decent players. Play good football. The pitch at Wolfram Abbey would have suited them. No, not a shock to me at all. They've picked up some very good results. They will be breathing down people's necks.
I think Wolfram Abbey would be disappointed. I saw a couple of tweets on there sort of saying that, you know, I mean, again, it's that sort of thing. If you're on a roll and you're playing well, you want that momentum to build, don't you? So, you know, if you're playing well and getting the results that they have, you become to expect it. I think as players, as managers, although you don't get blasé, you turn up to games sort of saying, you know, we've won 4 or 5 on the bounce, you know, let's make it 6. And then when someone sticks a toe in like that and spoils it, you're back starting again.
Where 1, Hayes and Yedding 3. I mean, again, is that another team that you're a bit concerned about? We said South Park. Is Ware another one of those that you could look at and go?
Yeah. Do you know what again, sounding derogatory, Ware are used to fighting for their lives. So I think they'll be all right. They had a change again. They've changed their ground. They've gone to plastic. So that will help them through the season. Where it didn't, but also before it used to help them where people didn't like going to play on a muddy. But Hayes and Yedding are a big strong side, mate, so I'm not surprised that they won. But I, with that league, with some of the bottom 2 or 3, Ware won't finish in the bottom 2 or 3 of that. That'll be fine this year.
Westfield 2, FC Romania 1. Another team that seem to be struggling as well now. They found their feet.
No, mate. No, it's difficult. It takes time though to come in this
Big
league.
step up,
It's
isn't
a step
it? You know,
up.
I know some clubs sort of make that transition really easy, like Basildon United did, but big step up for them. Didn't they go up at the last minute?
Yeah, they got well, not through default, was
No,
it?
but
They elected.
Yeah, so they wouldn't have sort of perhaps had the preparation that other people.
But it's unusual because a lot of the Essex senior sides that do come up and kick on, don't they? You know, I think the last few years about
the way that they're set up though, FC Romania and Sector come in, they're not like that though, are they? They're a little bit different.
Yeah.
So.
They'll be struggling for resources as well, won't they?
Take time,
South East Division then. Ashford United 2, Horsham 3.
Just can't get a win, Ashford. You know, they haven't won since
2-0 up as well.
Last minute goal. You know, for the resources they've got. Dan Parrish has come from Thamesmead, scored early. And then obviously Sam Corn, who's played a good level of football at Welling and whatever, and you think, wow, but Horsham are a strong side and we've got them in a fortnight. They've signed some decent players as well. So I would say they both play on the pitch. By all accounts, I don't think the players that Ashford have signed, the pitch is helping them at all. And that is what I'm hearing. It's not the best, to be polite. It's absolute rank. But they will come good. They've got too many good players not to. They were my favourites for the league, if I'm honest. But I know they've fallen away a bit. But to not have a win since August is big. But I'm sure they'll turn it around. They've got a great manager, great coach, great goalkeeper, great players. Their spine is unbelievable. So I'm pretty sure they'll pick up soon.
Faversham Town 2, Guernsey 1.
Yeah, good result. I'm pleased for Faversham in one way. I know we got on Saturday. Obviously, the manager's gone and they're taking their time picking the right one, which I applaud them for. They haven't rushed. They set a date. I think it's been a month. I think they gave people. I think they're not going to announce it to maybe this week. I've done an interview today and they asked me, did I think there'd be a new manager in charge for our game? I said no. Clive Walker, who's been so experienced, you know, he's up Ray for years. He was the number 2 coach. I think he'll stay there. You know, he managed Northampton and Braithwaite. You know, his experience is great. So I'm pleased for them that they got a win. Let's hope they don't kick on this weekend. But Guernsey travelling.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's hard.
Last minute goal as well.
Yeah, that hurts even more. There's a lot of them this week, mate. Last minute goals. Yeah. But that's what teams are there for. That's, you know, we said this the other day. There's a lot of last minute goals.
Talking about last minute goals, Greenwich Borough 0, Sevenoaks 1, and it's an own goal as well.
I know.
52 there as well.
Yeah, listen, Greenwich Borough, the resources, the fans, and that they haven't, mate. They're a club in transition. They're a new side. They're building. They're trying. I've said this before. They are the off-the-cuff team. They're a team that go in front really well. If I'm right, I think they still might be in the trophy. You know, they can score goals. They've got a lot of pace. Just need a bit of organisation and things like that. Sevenoaks are quite solid. I actually thought Mickey was here tonight. I must be wrong, but they've adapted well to the league. They're quite well organised. And they can score goals. So they've picked up some very good results in the last month. October's been good for them.
Hastings United 2, Three Bridges 1, 4-7-9 now.
Listen, Hastings are a big club. We've got Chris on next week. Best side I've played this year, I told you that. Three Bridges are getting better. And I've said that to you as well. They just, if you look at Three Bridges results, there's been a lot of 2-1 defeats. So they're always in the game and they just need that little bit of thing to click and kick on. But you know, go Hastings on a big pitch at home and only to lose 2-1 where they are, that ain't bad.
We played Hastings last year in the trophy and they were a big side. Are they still?
Not as big, no.
They were a big side last year.
It's gone to Haywards Heath, to be fair, the one that maybe on about.
Yeah.
That brings us on to the next one then. Haywards Heath 0, Cray Wanderers 1. 1 sent off again for Haywards Heath. We saw the goal, didn't we, just before we started?
We did, mate. It's a last-minute goal. Haywards Heath must be kicking themselves. They had a man sent off, and the goal we just looked at. How the referee hasn't gave a foul, I don't know. It was like a scissor kick tackle. We've only seen it from the video, so people right close might be not saying it's a Craig, but sometimes when it's not going with you for a game, it's not, and the ball's come back and he's popped it back and they've scored, and it's straight away from it. Like I said, we weren't right close to it, but from the video we've seen, it looked a pretty big foul. Put it this way, I'd be running on the pitch if it was against me.
I mean, literally, the ball goes straight over the player that's on the floor. Do you know what I mean? It's just like.
To be fair, if you hit him on the head, it would have gone back to the keeper. It would have done him a favour.
Should we miss the next? No, we won't. Herne Bay 1, VCD 7.
What's that, mate?
175.
Have you not got a jingle for this?
Seven.
We were just lucky, mate. We turned up, they had 4 players. And geezer about the crowd at game goal.
No ref.
They got stuck on the M2 down the road ground. They were standing in the hotel or the caravans on the seafront, and they got stuck in the sand. Listen, they got us on a good day. Been saying we've been playing well, and if I'm honest, the score flatters them. We could have been 12, 14. Even I think if you read the non-league, it says it, and it's their report. They've signed a few players. They've got some good players down there. And I said, I think on my tweet this time last year, we went down there and got done 4. I thought it was 5. And to be fair, we got a bit of stick from them and all. And I thought on the day we were excellent. When you've got a centre forward that scores 4 goals in 35 minutes, that helps. Yeah. But they got a good goal back, and then we carried on. And some football that we played was just out of this world. And we're just going through a stage where everything's going right for us at the moment. And I'm not going to say we could go next week and lose to Faversham, because that's what our youngsters do. When they're flying and mixed around with a great goal scorer and someone like Ali Fassini in our side as well, if we play, we're going to hurt you because we've got firepower. But the youngsters at the moment are just thriving from it. But I've said to everyone at the club, look, beware, they're going to have a bad time. But why we're going on, like I said, we're looking really well drilled. We're not going to be a side, with the way we play, I'm not giving any secrets away here, we're not going to be a side that's going to keep 8 clean sheets out of 10, but we're going to score 40 goals out of 10, I would think. We're going to need to get 3 or 4 to win. But like I said, it happens. They didn't have anyone sent off or anything like that. We just played really well, and their pitch suits us. It's a very big pitch at Herne Bay. And we just stretched, and we hit them on the break nearly every time, and we were very, very good, very good. I've got, normally I criticise my team. Today I've got to give them a pat on the back.
When you get a result like that as a manager, and obviously they're all buzzing when they get in the changing room. Obviously you then got the next game coming up. Yeah. How do you rein players in, or do you not? Is there an element of perhaps some of the younger players sort of like, oh, this is great, 7 this week, and we didn't even play that well. Next week it could be.
Yeah, no, this is a good thing. When I've got people like Charlie McDonald and that on the side, they're very level-headed. And these youngsters, and I said this to Dan in an interview we done, they're learning from them. They're going out. Our warm-up is completely different. They go out early now. They're all there doing they're in pep. They're doing their little things. They've got little mentors. It's really good to see. And I've said to them while we've been going on this run, or we've been playing like it, listen, just go and be positive. Be positive. Listen, I'll scream and shout on Saturday as well, even though we were crucifying them. But they're getting into good habits now, and their decision making is becoming good, and they're helping them. So, no, we've arranged a game tomorrow. We're playing Dartford. At Dartford, they're putting a strong side out, and we're going to go over there and just see how we're doing at the moment. If I'm honest, we're going to, we've got people that need minutes. We left 2 out the squad on Saturday, and we've got another 2 coming back. So, I've got to start looking to loan a few out as well. But I don't think when you're in this position, I think sometimes this is what I'm saying, especially some committees and fans, the players get enough stick. I think if they're getting a bit cocksure of themselves, but because we've got players on the bench. We left Junior Baker out and things like that, and we just signed Jake McIntyre from Thamesmead, another solid defender, and I've got Moses Ashikodi up front. He played with Watford in the Premier League. So everybody's got, we've got Malachi Hudson coming back from who the last 3 games is unplayable when he comes on, and that's why tomorrow he's going to start. So no one can rest, and they all know that. So. We're just going to keep going and enjoy it, because as a manager you don't get too many 7-1s where your team's played really well. Sometimes you get it where someone's got sent off and it's just but that was just I was sitting back going, oh my God, and my chairman was behind me and they're all watching, and it was nice to have that feeling. So like I said, you just got to hope next week I think you just want to win again and then carry on, but there seems to be a bit of a pattern with us at the moment, so there's no way it continues.
So with the way that the season's structured now, is that frustrating for you? Because you would, in theory, probably be having a league game tomorrow night.
Yeah, it is, and I said that a little bit with the stadium. Yeah, you've got more respite and things like that, and you can rest players, but I think I got 5 messages for a friendly for tomorrow night from different teams. So that's telling you that teams want games. Picks up baseball and whatever, but I think if you asked every club nearly now, they would go back to the old leagues the way it was. I think they prefer 24 games than what race. So yeah, that's the frustrating part of it. But I think you just need to keep ticking over. You can play friendlies, and I think what will happen is, I think we spoke about it before, our local sides, if they can, like the Dartfords, us, even the times, I think we just sort of make our own mini little non-league, mini friendly league, where instead of having, because we haven't got the 23s and that, we can just build and play them. So you haven't got the expense of having a travel in a 23 league, but if you've got 6 or 7 games here and there that you can always play them away, it helps. And we've got good connections with clubs around us for that.
We were talking about budgets, we're talking about Basel before we go on to the last few results, and they've just released a statement. Basel United Chairman Lee Connor has confirmed that the interests of the club are his priority after Mark Harrison stepped down as manager of the Bees. Harrison resigned as boss on Sunday, with the newly promoted side in second place in the Isthmian North standings, and Connor confirmed the club wanted Harrison to remain in charge despite the budget cuts. At the beginning of the season, the budget was put in place, said Connor. The budget was based on certain things such as improved attendances and more sponsorship being met. The budgets became extortionate, and the budget has run over by more than double. The club wasn't making the revenue needed to support the budget. We looked at the club's finances and we had to make a decision to cut the budget. I told Mark about our thoughts on Friday, and I then sat down and spoke with him again on Saturday. We lost to Bowers, and I spoke to Mark again on Sunday to finalise the plans. Joint Chairman David Maxwell and I have made over the budget moving forward. Mark wasn't happy with the terms and he stepped aside. I know he has a baby on the way, so I think that may have come into his thinking a bit, but the decision was his and we part on good terms. We wanted Mark to stay and we had backed him, but there was 100% his choice to leave. The club's future is our main concern and a priority, so it's important that we make the budget changes now. I wish Mark and his backroom staff all the best for the future and thank them for their achievements, particularly in getting us to the club to the Isthmian North for the first time in 27 years. Connor confirmed he will be caretaker manager for the next three or four matches before a permanent appointment will be made, and then CVs to be sent to Basil and Chairman himself. So, as we said before, it is budget cuts.
Yeah, I'm disappointed with that. Right, some of them, that statement. He mentions that they backed him. Well, they haven't backed him, have they? Because I can only go if they arrange the budget, and obviously they're 10 games in, and they've said it's doubled. Well, the chairman's there, okay, so they can say, "Oh, hold on." They made a budget cut already. Well, that's not backing him. Attendances, are they going to go up? Yes or no? Well, you look at that. Sponsorship, well, that shouldn't even come into it in a little while, I don't think, because you can't rely on sponsors nowadays to get you out. If you've but you can only set a budget of what you think you've got. But going on the other side, because we both went in for the same player from Bowers the other 5 weeks ago, and they outbid us. So the chairman knew that, because he's obviously sanctioned it. So within 4 or 5 weeks, if it's doubled, to do that and then cut it, so all these players now, are they going to take a budget cut? So I can't say that they backed him in that way. Yet the most important thing is the club future, and on the chairman thing, I completely agree with that. But obviously, he's left because of that, and managers will, and going back, will managers and the man's watching now go in there? The answer will be no, because of that. If you've got a club, I wouldn't. You couldn't trust them.
No.
I think when you're doing your budget, and believe it or not, we still sit down and work out the numbers, although there's no budget. I think Keith's right. You can only use the parameters of what you know is going to happen. I mean, I speak to chairmen sometimes at games, and they sort of say, "Oh, we're cutting the budget in a week's time because we had an early exit from the trophy or an early exit from the FA Cup." In my opinion, that's just madness, because you don't know what you're going to do. I mean, would Aki at Haringey Borough, has he set his budget to include £70,000 that he might get from the FA Cup? Of course he hasn't, because you just don't know where you're going to go. You know what your average crowd was last year. Keith, you knew roughly how many supporters you'd get this year, wouldn't you? Because if you've got a bar, I know you're going to get money out of your bar, but if you've got a bar, you know roughly how many functions you have, you know roughly how much you make from the bar, how many programmes you sell, even sponsorship. If over the last 5 years you're averaging £3,000 in sponsorship, chances are you're going to average $3,000. You know, I mean, with a chairman's hat on, yeah, of course you've got to balance the books, and you know, we don't want to see clubs going to the wall or being in financial
but don't
difficulty.
sanction new signings and things like that if you know that's the case.
And it must be very difficult for everyone connected with the club, because if they have got to readjust their budget, then there is the possibility that players don't always buy into it, do they? If you sort of say, right, okay, if everyone takes a cut of 20%, 20 quid or whatever, then everyone can stay. And there will be players that will buy into that. But I'm sure you've had it, Keith. Some people say, no, hang on, when I came here, we shook hands on X, and I shook your hand on that. I haven't come and asked you for any more, so you shouldn't offer me any less. So it is difficult, and certainly for Basildon United, the people, I know Lee fairly well, you know, it would be a shame for him and for the supporters and the players as well if that team doesn't continue when you consider how well they've done.
Absolutely.
Is it a stage where, you know, let's sit only after 10 games, so is it a stage where they think, well, maybe we're safe anyway? Who knows? Like I said, it's a shame they lost their manager. I'm sure people are now, with that statement, are going to go around their club a little bit like vultures and take their players in, if that's the case. And if they don't, then maybe it's not as true as it seems.
Well, back to the fixing. Hive Town 3, Sittingbourne 2.
Yeah, good result for Hive. Again, Sittingbourne,
262.
Another sending off day. Yeah, they're a big club, Hive, down our way. They get good support. A club that did go to the wall a few years ago and had come back and restarted and should never have then. They're strong, get a good support down there. It's a decent club, and they'll be there and thereabouts. I think.
Well, the one we were talking about on Friday night has been a bit of a tasty game. Phoenix Sports 1, Ramsgate 1.
Yeah, listening to all the Phoenix lot, obviously, it wasn't a great game. It wasn't a great game. They said it was pretty poor. And obviously, your main man's gone down. Alex Taniola's gone and scored for him. And listen, Alex has been with me, and I said to him that they would, you know, he would do well for him, and he will. But I think Ramsgate have played Phoenix now 3 times in the last 4 weeks because of the FA Trophy and the draw. 2 draws and a narrow defeat for Phoenix, but they'll be a little bit disappointed looking at them that they've dropped points there, because I think they thought they would get a result.
And then Winstable Town 0, Whiteleaf 2.
Yeah, no shot. Obviously, Trey Williams has gone from Temple, he'd gone there, scored, added even more to their firepower. Everyone's saying that Whiteleaf are a decent side, and obviously you've gone to Whitstable and got a good result. Not an easy place to go. I've said to you before, they're very big, strong, direct, and obviously if they dealt with it and not conceded, it's great.
And then on Friday night it was Whittam Town 1, Haybridge Swifts 1. A bit of a shock, that one.
Good result for Whittam. Good result for Whittam. Who I think James looks like he's going to start for them soon. But I'll look at his tweets, doesn't he? He's looking to get like himself in a bit trim there.
I know, yeah.
I might go and have a little watch of some of these charity games. But obviously it's the first drop points, isn't it, since Julian's gone in? Yeah. But it's away from home, it's a local derby. So would you take a point? Yeah, you mostly would.
Haven't lost since he's gone there, have they?
No, I think they've said that is their first drop point, I think.
Shooting up the table.
They are.
And looking at the Premier table, then Tonbridge Angels at top. They're on 28. We then have Dorking Wanderers on 26. Of course, they play each other in the trophy at the weekend. Then Enfield Town have got 25. And then we've got Worthing and Lewis on 24 and Bognor on 22, alongside Potters Bar and the ever-improving Bishop Stortford. Then at the bottom of the table, Harlow are on 8. Leatherhead are on 10. Burgess Hill Town are on 11. Whitehawk on 11, and Haringey, who played a lot less games, of course, but they're on 12. Any surprises still for you at the bottom?
No, mate, there isn't. It's that league is, that we said before, you need to put a run together and you can get yourself right up the league and challenge. It is a strong league, and 3 points are hard to come by. In that, it is. if you can put a run of 3 or 4 games, you're doing really, really well there. In straight
it's not the
wins.
division to bring in sort of untried players either, is it?
No.
You know, I mean, you can do that sort of at step 4 without being disrespectful to anyone. You know, we do. You know, you can take a couple of kids from the Essex Senior League or maybe the Kent Senior League and give them a couple of games to bed in. But with sort of, you know, the less games that we've got now, and also people sort of being in a perilous position. You know, if you're near the bottom, if you're going to bring someone in, you want to bring someone in that's tried and tested.
So is that like, if you're a step 3 side, then you only realistically expect them to bring in step 3 players or above?
Or above, no, you would go and have a look at step 4 if they're flying, or listen, there's a lot of good players in step 4 that can play at step 3. But I think, you wouldn't take a gamble on a 17-year-old kid, maybe, that you've heard of or whatever. It's especially not a forward or a goalkeeper or centre half. You normally go for tried and tested there.
And as a player, if you're flying, do you then want to go and play in the division above for a team that's struggling? And then the incentive then is financial, and again it becomes difficult for clubs because you then sort of got to pay sort of a decent bit of money to get someone who's perhaps doing well at a lower level.
Well, in the north, it's Bowes and Pitsea. They're on 25. Basildon, they're on 23. Coggeshall Town are on 22. Averley have played a game less. They're on 22. And then we have Baldwin and Tiptree who have played, so they've got 20. And Haybridge Swifts on 19. And Grays all of a sudden shooting up there as well. They're on 18
Big club
as well. So with the news tonight, are we expecting to see maybe Basildon to drop out of that sort of playoff zone? And then you're looking then, I suppose, at what? Haybridge, Grays to come in. Canby Island still sitting around there as well with a game in hand as well.
Felix though, mate, they're still here.
And Sudbury, of course, we've talked about as well. They've still got a couple of games in hand as well, right down there in 15th. And surprised with Sudbury, they've not won at home.
Big shock.
So, especially with that pitch as well, you know. I mean,
and you look at it, it's only Sudbury, Tilbury, Witham, and Soham that have not actually won a game or won a game at home so far this season. Romford, I think Romford and Brentwood are the only 2 teams not to win a game away so far this year as well. Let's move on then to the South Central. And I'm sure this is the league that we were talking about earlier on, where there is a lot. I think there's a lot of difference in the playoff area. So at the top, it's Hayes and Yenning. They've played 10 and they are on 25. Bracknell Town have played 10, they're on 25. Marlow have played 11, they're on 24. Waltham Abbey have played 11, they're on 24. Cheshunt have played 11, they're on 22. Then a 3-point gap now to Tooting, who have played a game more, they're on 19. And then we go down to Hanwell and Northwood, who are both on 17. At the bottom, 2 teams on 4, Egham and South Park. Molesley, they've got a game in hand on them, they're on 5. FC Romania have got a game in hand as well. They're on 6, and then a 5-point jump to Bedford Sports.
It's just them 4, Dave. That's what I'm saying. It's cutting adrift there. It'll be them out of them. I think it's the bottom 2.
And is it still 1 down or is it
2 down?
2 down. So 2 down.
Obviously,
one. They're considered to be relegated already, aren't they? So.
And in your league, of course, we've got Cray Wanderers still top, played 11 with 31 points. Hastings have played 9 with 24. Hive Town have played 11 with 22. Phoenix Sports have played 12 with 21. VCD have played 11 with 21. Whiteleaf have only played 9, but they've got 18. And then at the bottom, we can scroll up, hopefully. There we go. Right at the bottom then, of course, is Herne Bay are now at the bottom. They played 9 with 5. Greenwich Borough played 10 with 6. And 3 Bridges have played 11 with 7. And Guernsey have played 12 with 9. So although Thamesmead are still on there with the 7 games, I mean, how long before that becomes sort of sign of dies as such?
On the league, I think to have their management meeting, aren't they? And then with the committee, and then with the FA. So I think you're within the next week or 2.
It probably has to be sort of ratified, although everyone knows the position. It probably has to, there's probably some boxes to tick or some hoops to jump through. But I should imagine, as Keith says, in a week or 2, you'll probably find that their record gets expunged, and people that have either scored goals against them or got points against them will find they disappear. I'm not quite sure how that's going to change your league table. You beat them, didn't you?
Phoenix beat them, Hastings beat them. a lot of sides and so on. But yeah, it will be. So yeah, no, it will do. But yeah, big game in our league game on Saturday, on Sunday, as I said. Craig play Hastings. It's a massive. That's a great game for the neutral on Sunday. I know it's Remembrance Sunday. Wow, what a game! Get down to Cray and watch that.
Down to Bromley. I mean, that's going to be.
Phoenix.
I mean, how many how many crowd wise? What do you reckon?
300-400.
Yeah.
I think on a Sunday, I know when we've had to play FA Cup games on Sundays or whatever, because everyone's free to go and watch. If you're a ground op or a supporter of another club, you'll get a lot of managers that will go down there to have a look. A lot of players will go down there because there'll be friends of players that are going down there. You'll probably find there's 300 cops.
Very, very good on the eye, that game. Trust me, two very good footballing sides.
So, wouldn't be short to say you're looking forward to that one.
I'm looking forward to the result. I ain't going.
You're not going to go?
No, I'm going Phoenix now with beer. That's my Sunday off. That's what I do. I prefer that. I know how both teams play. I'm on me. All the Phoenix they listen. You've got to prioritise your life sometimes.
I mean, with that, I mean, have you played either of the two teams yourself yet?
Both played. Cray lost 2-1 when we done well. Thought we could have got a draw, and then we played Hastings in the FA Cup and lost 3-2, and we were outstanding. And Chris will tell you when he comes in next week, we should have got a result there as well. Both very good sides though. Great resources, great. Hastings, big club, big crowds. So Simon House has just come on, I know well. Simon obviously was a coach. He managed as well. And you put Keith, are Herne Bay relegation candidates? I hope not. No, Simon, they're not. They have got a good side. I know it sounds ridiculous, and I'm not being derogatory after we beat them. I would sign a couple of their players. They've got a lot on contract. They just maybe need to gel or go in a different direction a little bit at the moment. They're a bit predictable maybe for certain things. And when you're losing, it's difficult to get out. I know they beat Whittam in the trophy the week before, but I think they just need to. They've got a very good centre forward. He's a young lad, and he's not obviously. I think teams now are sort of looking after him a little bit more because they know about him and he's young, so he's struggling maybe to deal with that. But apart from that, no, they've just signed the goalkeeper from Faversham coming this week. They signed John Coker from Thamesmead, who's an exceptionally good centre half. They've done very well getting him, and a winger as well from Ramsgate. So. No, I think they'll be fine.
So I suppose while I'm searching around for the telephone number that I'm trying to search out for, I mean, this weekend, trophy-wise as well, I mean, what sort of sides do you feel they're going to have a good weekend?
I want Horsham to draw, because we got them the following Saturday, and it does me a favour. So please draw Horsham. Obviously, there's a few. The Tunbridge Dorking game's going to be a very good game, mate. But you just want all sides to go through. You do, they've got a good chance. There's some good draws there, and you'd fancy.
When it comes to the national competitions, your rivalries either local sides, or if you're in the league, you want the team above you to lose or whatever. But I mean, when it comes to this, Brentwood are playing at the weekend. They're fairly local to Romford. Nice people over there, and I'd like them to do well. You want all the local sides to do well, because it is good for the league.
And is it the next round all the big boys come in, or is it the round after?
I think it's the round after. I think yes, the round after.
Yeah. Well, how great would that? I mean, at this level now, I don't think it has to be the FA Cup, does it? You imagine Brentwood getting Orient away or something, and Dagenham and Redbridge, that'd make your season, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And the publicity it brings to the clubs as well.
Before we go there, obviously, the big thing we ain't spoke about, and I know we're going to talk to Worthing, is Haringey Borough on Thursday. Friday, they're out, they're home to AFC Wimbledon. They've got the nation watching them, and that you can't be any more pinnacle for the league itself. And as a club, and we said about Aki and obviously the manager. What a great job they've done. I said to you how professional they've been since that win. They've kept going. And obviously, I wish them all the best as well.
Yeah,
I'll be cheering on for them. Yeah. I know I've got connections at Wimbledon. I like them as well. But on this day, I'll be definitely cheering on Haringey.
But it almost mirrors Wimbledon's rise, doesn't it? If you look at Haringey Borough now, if you look back to where they were sort of 4 or 5 years ago, sure Aki won't mind me saying the ground wasn't anything like it was now. People are saying they don't want to go there now because, they play it fast on the pitch. Yeah. It's quite intimidating in as much as they've got a good supporter base that gets behind their team. Whereas 4 or 5 years ago, you just didn't want to go there because it was difficult to get to and it wasn't a great place to get to.
It'd be interesting. Obviously, Wimbledon will struggle on the surface, but I tell you, if I was allowed to bet, I will bet Haringey score. I'll bet Haringey score.
I wouldn't be shocked if they got something out of it. I'm not saying they'll win it, but I wouldn't be shocked if they got something out of it. They've got nothing to lose, have they? You can play with freedom, you can enjoy yourself.
About them, and this is when you've got a team that's got pace in it, you can compete against them because fitness comes into it. And obviously, Wimbledon are going to have quality and set plays. And they're going to be really well organised. But when you've got a team with pace, it's hard even to defend against and plan and coach through the week because if we've always said if someone's bigger than you, it's hard to defend in an header against them. There's nothing you can do. If someone's that quicker than you, there isn't much you can do about it. It's just one of them things. That is life, and that's what you've got to get on with.
So how do you send a team out as a manager for a game like that? Do you tell them all that this is their opportunity to be in the shop window and play with no fear?
I think the first thing you do is I think the training is mega important. I think you need to. I think you've got to first off make sure your team is very well drilled and organised and hard to break down. You just got to say to them, look, we're going to get our chances. We need to stay in the game. Make it obviously very difficult for them. We've got to work, but when we get our chance, we've got to basically go at and properly, and then get back, reset, go. But be confident. There isn't, the good players, encourage them. You're right. You've got nothing to lose, but just the shop window's a difficult one because I think the TV cameras are there. It's a bit obvious, but I just think it's just getting them really mentally prepared for the game, and it is a cup game, and anything can happen. If they go and if they stop them playing, if they don't let them get the foot on the ball, they won't like it. They won't like it, and I think that's what you say to them: just get in their face, and then when they've got it, make it hard for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Looking forward to it. I must admit, I'll be tuning in. Yeah. But let's give Pete a call. Of course, chairman down at Worthing. Hopefully, it's going to. We're going to.
Peterstone.
Hello, Peter. It's David from the Isthmian show.
Dave, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, sir. Not too bad. I've got Keith with me to my left, and of course Steve, the chairman from ROMFORD, with me as well. Just in case you hear other voices as we're chatting. But I suppose one thing that we're saying is just how big your club is. Let's start off with a big question, I suppose, because literally Keith was saying earlier on about the attendances you're getting and what a big club in this league your club is.
Oh, thank you. And evening, Keith. Evening, Steve. I was watching from the start, and just as you were going through the results and about to get to our result of the weekend, my internet went down, so I actually missed what you said.
We said you was lucky.
Yeah, I did say to Adam today you were lucky. Yeah. No, I think it's less a question about how big we are. It's about how big we can be. It's when I first got involved a few years ago. I looked at the data and looked at the research and said to George at the time, if you look at Worthing as a population, it's 115,000 people living in Worthing, and there are 10 towns in the UK that are smaller than Worthing by population size, and yet they're supporting Premiership and Championship clubs and League One clubs. So that was the first point. The second point was, and coming from Leeds and being a big Leeds fan, I hear this a lot, that supporters in the north are far more passionate than supporters in the south when it comes to football, and I just think that's rubbish. There are as many passionate supporters in the south following Brighton, following Palace, following Southampton, Pompey, as well as following the non-league clubs, and that passion just runs deep. So if I put the two together, that Worthing is a very big town by population size, and it's just as passionate about its football as any of the teams in the north, the towns in the north, then we've got to be doing something about that and doing something to connect with it. So I genuinely think that Worthing has the capacity and the capability to be supporting crowds that are double the size that we're getting at the moment. And clearly it's rising, and it has been rising over the last 18 months or so. But I still think it's got more to go.
Hi, Pete. We were saying, well, I was saying you might have got it about the catchment area at Worthing. But we did also mention, and I don't know if you heard or the internet was down there, that this time last year, what a change it's been. Obviously, where the club was, obviously with the flooding, with your pitch, obviously with the issues you had, and having to go and play at Bognor. And now all of a sudden you're sitting there, you was at the bottom of the league, couldn't buy a win, and all of a sudden things have changed around. You went on a great run last year, and now you're sitting where you are. You're getting 1,000 through the gate, and like you said, it will go up. What was the change in that 1 year? What was the massive thing?
Adam Hinshelwood. Mm-hmm. Quite simply, that was the difference. I mean, you know from the records, it took 17 games for us to get a win last year, and Adam was somebody that obviously was very well known to the club. He'd been a manager several years ago, and his philosophy when it comes to playing styles and coaching styles, but also just on a broader level, his philosophy about how footballers should be as people, and what we should be looking for. There's a great connection there between Worthing and Adam. And when Gary left at about game 8 last season, then there really was only one solution to where we wanted to go, and that was the solution to the problem. But more importantly, if we're going to go on a journey and we're going to realise the vision that we've got, then there's only one person for that, and that was Adam Hinshelwood. And quite simply, that's been the biggest difference, really. There's a lot of things that we do behind the scenes, but making the investment in Adam, and certainly March, April time, when I gave Adam a 3-year contract and a full-time contract at that, to capitalise on the work that he'd done, the difference he'd made, that really was the biggest difference, hiring that manager, and then investing in him, backing him with his team and his squad, but also the work we've done behind the scenes with the youth and the academy. That's all just working very tightly with your manager.
Just to go back a bit, I'm going to stick up for the managers union. I think that's great. But with yourself and the owner, when obviously your issues you had at the club with the pitch and the flood, what was you thinking there? Because I know a lot of when we spoke about on the show, we were like, oh no, look at all the hard work they've done. They've got this new ground, things are going well, and you get hit with that before obviously the football side happened. What was going through the club there? What was the big turnaround?
Oh, in terms of off the pitch and
off the pitch, obviously, because you had when the flood happened with the pitch and things like that, where you had to rip it up, and I don't think FIFA come and helped you. Just take us back to those days. Yeah, sure. Well, actually, just to slightly correct you, we haven't ripped it up. It's still an ongoing dispute around the pitch. So there were two issues. The first one was flooding, as you say. So we had to postpone the game at about 6 p.m. on a Tuesday evening, season before last, against Billericay, and quite rightly, Billericay were very angry when they came down and the game was called off. You don't expect a 3G surface to flood. So that was the first issue in terms of getting that resolved. The second issue is for the last 2 seasons, the pitch has failed its FIFA tests on planarity, which basically says it's not level, so it's out of tolerance in too many areas. And that's really where the underlying issue lays in terms of the ongoing dispute to address the root cause of that. And so that is very much in the hands of FIFA. FIFA have been outstanding, I would say, in the last 2 years. We've had lots and lots and lots of meetings and conversations with them. They've flown in from Zurich to represent us in meetings with the carpet supplier and the contractor. And that has been a 2-year conversation. And it's been immensely difficult because of the financial impact it has. You guys know yourself, if you're not playing at home, you're in great trouble financially, and that cost us tens of thousands of pounds last year. The exact figure was north of 50 in terms of how it hit us from a P&L perspective, but just in terms of cash, it was a really, really, really tough time, and that hasn't gone away. That issue, it's still in the background. We're still trying to resolve it. We managed to get through this summer with the remedial work that allowed us to get our FIFA certification again, but it hasn't gone away, and it's still there in the background that we have to resolve. But as I say, in terms of the background issues off the pitch, then what really made the difference was just being very clear. What is our identity as a club? What differentiates us from every other Bostik Premier League club or Bostik club in its broader sense? What differentiates us from national South clubs, for example? So just being very clear what we are and what we stand for, and then having a vision which is built around connecting with the community, balancing the investments out that we make, and securing Adam.
that's really is what we've done.
So obviously, you say you compete. You've got Lewis down the road from you there. Obviously, Whitehawk's not too far as well. Burgess Hill. So you've got 3 or 4 Premier sides quite close to you, haven't you?
We have. Yeah, so that was great this year, having 4 to 6 derbies. And as much as I want Worthing to be the most successful club in the south, I actually do want Sussex football to go from strength to strength. Nothing gives me greater pleasure than seeing 5 clubs within a relatively small geographical area competing or operating in the Bostik Premier. I really hope Burgess Hill go on and do better this year than they did last year, surviving on the last day. I hope they become a force, and that every game we play against our county competitors is a really good, true derby.
So we've got a man sitting next to us who's a chairman of another club as well, and I'm sure he's quite interested in this one. Just tell people what the 3G service has done to your club. Yeah,
what's it done? Apart from give us a lot of sleepless nights and stress and cost us a ton of money. Apart from that, the original idea was that it would give us a facility that we could use for the community. And being bluntly, it helps serve the needs of the town in terms of a football facility, and it provides a way of generating revenue and generating some income. In particular for George, who rescued the club 4 or so years ago. So it was about having that financial side as well as the facility for the community. Interestingly, where we're going now with it, this season we have launched an under-16, under-15, under-14 team. We've launched our education programme, so we've got the under-17s that are playing in the National Alliance League. And that's driven up the utilisation of the pitch by people playing in the Worthing badge and in the Worthing colours. So it's diminished our ability to generate additional sources of revenue because obviously the pitch is being used to a greater extent. But the counterbalance to that is because we have that greater use and greater visibility of a whole range of youngsters playing under the Worthing badge, that's brought a much greater connection to the community, and that in turn has been one of the contributing factors to driving up the attendance levels. So it's a little bit sort of swings and roundabouts in that. So it served many purposes on many fronts at many points in time, but now it does allow us to do more things on the pitch than we historically would have been able to do.
Hi Peter, it's Steve. Has the 3G pitch given more awareness in the town of where you are? I know sort of at a non-league level, sometimes people aren't always aware exactly where their local club is.
Yeah, well, you know what, Steve, it astonished me how little was known about the fact that there was a football club right on people's doorsteps, slap bang in the middle of town, and we've gone to great lengths to correct that. And to be honest, it's not the 3G pitch that's made the difference. It is just going out there and connecting with the people of the town, so through different means. So as simple as getting a great social media presence, getting volunteers to take posters around the town. We do a print run of 200 posters every month now, and people take them around the town and put them in shops, pubs, tattoo studios, you name it, they go in there. It's about doing some charity events on the pitch. So to that extent, it does help us back to the utilisation of the pitch point. And it is about doing things like goal of the month, but making that inclusive. So, for example, the winner of the September goal of the month was an under-14 player, and he's up against first-team players and ladies-team players. So it's an accumulation of lots of little things like that that have raised the awareness of people that there is this facility on the doorstep. And when they do come for the first time, and they go, oh wow, there's 1,000 people, or there's 1,300 people watching the game, and we've had quite a few exciting games this year as well. And it's the accumulation of all of those things that have raised the profile, not just the fact that we've got a 3G surface.
And is that hard work, Pete, where you go out and you deliver these posters out, or you go out and say, might give some tickets out or whatever else to the community, it doesn't work, do you then say, well look, okay, I'm going to go out and do it again, and I'm going to go out and do it again?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think I don't think it is hard work, to be honest, because again, if you tap into the fact that people love to be associated with a football club, every single club up and down the land, irrespective of the the level they're playing at. It's run by people who just want to be involved and they want to help out, whether it's behind the bar in the clubhouse, whether it's doing maintenance, whether it's looking after the pitch or painting the stands. And I think if you just go out and ask, then people are willing to get involved. So there's an army of people, and they pester me now towards the end of every month, and I don't mind it in the slightest, but they pester me, are the posters ready, are the posters ready? So I think just doing that is not that difficult if you just go out and ask people, because they want to be involved. And the point about if it doesn't work, you're spot on again. If it doesn't work, try something different. But if we want to connect with the town of Worthing and we want to be a club that the community of Worthing can be proud of, then what's going to make the difference? Go and ask people. Try things. If it doesn't work, then try something different. And just keep, if you're going to fail, then fail quickly. Don't throw lots of money at it. And some of these things, you don't have to throw money at things. You just have to put in the legwork.
So with the success, obviously, with the size of the club in the last year, what's the sort of the ambition for this season?
I mean, the first ambition was to be a lot more competitive than we were last year. I mean, clearly when Adam came, it took him 3 or 4 games to get the squad in place, and then we went on a great run, as you said earlier, and we went from averaging 0.05 points per game in the first 17 matches to I think it's 2.05, so it's quite a dramatic difference. So this year the ambition was, in terms of the ambition that we set as a club and the objectives that Adam and I spoke about, it was about being competitive this season, and that meant, pushing for a playoff place, being around those top 6, and being in, more games, than we're not in, as it were. But it was also about, seeing development across the younger players that we have in the club. I listened with interest earlier about the Step 3 club and the extent to which you can play younger players, and it's something that Adam is very, very comfortable doing, but only if they're players whose character he knows. I can't see that we would, to support your point earlier, we would go into the lower divisions and pull through a 16 or 17-year-old, but I don't know if you saw recently, Lucas, our goalkeeper, broke his arm, and the following week we couldn't get a home keeper in time, so we had a 16-year-old playing against Kingstonian, I think it was at the time, or Leatherhead, whichever one it was. And so putting a 16-year-old for his debut in front of 1,400 people we had that particular day was quite a big step. So we don't mind doing that if we know the individual's character, and it gives them a real shout. And next season, if they've played 15, 20 games at this level, then they will only improve the following year. So be competitive, be in and around the playoffs. Yes, we would love to progress into National South. That is our medium-term ambition. But you know what? If we don't make it this year, but we've built as a club, then great. It's not all about the 11 that play on a Saturday afternoon for us. There's a bigger story going on around the club.
So is the club in general sort of set up? If the best thing happens and Worthing go up into the National South, I mean, is the club ready for that jump?
You know what? I would say not quite yet. It's been really ready-made. 10 out of 10, I would say that we're about 6 at the moment. I think we do need more stable sources of income. Yes, people look at the crowds and they say to me, "Oh, you must be coining it in," because they see a 1,000 crowd and a £10 gate entry, and they immediately multiply one by the other and you get £10,000. And you think, "Wow, 20 games a year plus cup games, add that up. You must be coining it in." But actually, when you break down the attendance into its different demographics, then it's nowhere near £10,000 per gate receipt. So, like everybody else, we have our attendance levels, we do some of the raffles, and we do have sponsorship and advertising. I think that is more stable. I think we need to have we're building a leadership off the pitch. I did put together, this is the vision in terms of the roles I want to have in place, and these are the kinds of individuals that we want leading these different parts of the overall club. We've got those in place largely now. There's probably one more that I would like. So having those in place and having those people operational and functional, having the academy and the youth setup generating a pipeline of players. So there's a whole bunch of things that I would love to have in place for us to feel very comfortable in the National League, in the National South, sorry. And I would say about 6 out of 10 there at the moment.
Fair play.
So we'll take it if it comes.
Steve, I'm sorry, Pete. So, just tell us how you managed to get involved at Worthing.
So I lost the question. You broke up.
How you managed to get involved at Worthing?
So this goes back 2 or 3 years ago. You may well know the backstory. The club was very close to administration. It was only a matter of weeks away of going out of business, and it was closer to it was that close. And George, who when he was 17, he made his debut for the club coming off the bench, and the following day, or very soon after, he was paralysed in a car accident. So that clearly ended his football career. But when George had gone through his rehab, what he was very keen to do was to find a facility in the town that enabled or gave the youth of the town somewhere they could go and play football and play sport. It was very difficult to find the land and that facility, so George was introduced to Worthing Football Club, and he ended up buying the football club and putting the 3Gs down, refurbishing the bar. And lo and behold, we've got a surviving football club that we've also got a facility for the community. And it was towards the end of that year, involved behind the scenes helping George, and Calvin, who was brought in by George to be the managing director. And I very obliged because my brother-in-law was playing. So Matt Piper and Gary Elphick was his best mate, or is his best mate. And they were playing, so I was watching more, started chatting to George and Calvin, gradually got involved on things like budgeting and some of the financial management side of things, and then got involved in let's work out what our vision is, and then we started doing more communications events with the fans and with sponsors. And we gradually got the club to be more stable. We gradually got the crowds to rise up to an average of just over 600 a couple of seasons ago. And then it got to the point where George wanted to step back and said, I think this is just becoming too big, it's accelerating, can you take it over, and you take it forward? That's what I did. It's a boy's dream, really, to be chairman of a football club in a big town.
Mm. Yeah. So obviously your season, we spoke, you're 10 games in. How would you sort of say where you are? I know what we said about where you wanted to finish, but have you had a good start? Could you be a bit higher? And who do you think your main contenders are?
So I'll take the last point first. In terms of main contenders, if we looked at the start of the season and said, who do we think the top 6 are likely to be? I think you could have picked any 6 from 8, really. So, Enfield, Dorking, Tunbridge, Margate. Bognor were a bit of an unknown. They'd obviously come down from National South. We didn't quite know how they were rebuilding. They struggled pre-season for players, but they've been very impressive. There's some unknown quantities coming in from the Southern League. So Bishop Stortford in particular, for example, didn't quite know what we were going to get there. Carshalton had come up, didn't quite know what we were going to get there. So you could have really picked about 8 or 9 teams that we thought would be competitive for the top spots, and that seems to be how it's playing out. So I think as it turns out now, I think we'll start to see the sort of top 6 or 7 settle down perhaps. We are in danger of falling behind on games. We've got an FA Trophy game on Saturday. I think if we win that, we've got the 3rd qualifying round in a couple of weeks' time. So there's a danger we start to fall behind on games, a little bit like Billericay did last year. Are we happy where we are? Yeah, I mean, we're incredibly happy, to be honest. We are, we're averaging 2.2 points a game, which is a pretty decent return. We are showing attributes that we didn't have last year, particularly around resilience. So we are very pleased with that, and we're just quite happy being sort of under the radar, really, in that top 4, top 5. So yeah, so far so good.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, Pete, time's running away from us. We do appreciate you coming on, spending your time and speaking to us tonight. We do wish Worthing all the very, very best, and with the future. And hope you get some good luck, shall we say, with the pitch as well in the coming weeks as well.
Thank you ever so much, James. It's been a pleasure to be on the show. If you get down to Woodside Road, do come and look me up. And
we will do. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take good care. Bye now.
Bye. And again, another chairman comes on the programme and speaks some real good common sense.
Do you know what, Dave? I was just about to say that. What a breath of fresh air that how well planned that their club is, and how well he spoke and what they've done. I remember obviously, going back with George and, the things around him when he sort of grabbed the club and then he steps aside. But, for them to grow, like I said, this time last year, people were sitting there thinking, oh, are they going to hang in the league? Will the club survive after we're sitting there thinking that George had put his money in? Then the pitch was problem. At one point they were going to rip it up, and then FIFA's helped them, and then they've, like you said, to spend £50,000 to go to Bognor is no mean thing. Look, most clubs can't even afford that. And they set the place. And I said this before when we said about the size of Worthing, it's massive. I think if you look at them and Lewis, they do get big gates, and for a club to progress as they have is great to see, because it doesn't happen much in the league, and it isn't, and they haven't done it down to success. Okay, people can go, their results are brilliant and they're building, and it's not been that. They've done it because of this man George and the MD or whatever. They seem to have their structure and their head screwed on. They've done it in the right area. Yep, it's great. They've got a big town, and they've channeled that, obviously. And we're going to talk to Steve in a minute about the size of the town Romford is as well. But they've got a lot of people. George has brought in a great person there that seems very, very astute to what he's doing in football. And obviously, they have got a great manager. Adam is a very good manager. They can attract good players, and I can see them pushing right on. I really can. It's great news.
But it's evident it doesn't just fall in your lap, do you?
No.
When you're talking to him, all the work that's involved, the people that have to be mobilised, So when people go to these games, perhaps from other clubs, and you sort of say, I don't know, you come to Aveley and you sort of say, look, just built a new ground, they've got 300 people. They haven't just all suddenly just rocked up. There's people behind the scenes that are putting these posters out, that are going into the community, that are bringing other games to their ground and whatever. It's evident there that they're obviously working really, really hard.
And that's why I said to him, you go out, you go around the schools, you give out some posters, or you give out a few free tickets, or you go into your local, I don't know, go into the town centre of Worthing and give out some free tickets for the kids to come. Kid gets in free as long as the parent pays half price or whatever else. So you go in to do that. Now, if that doesn't work on that weekend, then okay, fair enough. Wait till the next weekend and go and do it again.
Yeah, no,
don't get your faces out there all the time. Don't just give up.
They have got a big bonus, Dave, that they are the main town's football club. They are Worthing. We can say to us, East Dick Craven, we're not. You've got Dartford's the main one, or Welling United. If they go to Romford would be there, mate. That does help. And like I said, with the size of Worthing, as he said, in their catchment is big. But there are some clubs, and obviously before they were there, they didn't do it. They weren't getting this. I remember going to play them in the FA Vars, I think, with Thamesmead, and we beat them down there. I don't know, 7, 8 years, maybe long. I can't remember.
But doesn't
they just hardly have anyone.
But what I'm saying is, teams that are the one team in the town, does that not actually say to them, listening to Pete, don't give up, keep going, keep going out there and trying to promote.
It says to every club, don't just sit there and think people are going to come through your gate because of results, because that ain't going to happen. Get off your arse, do a bit of work as well. You can't sometimes drag people in. That just isn't going to happen. But if you want people to come in, you've got to want to make it attractive to them. You've got to look after them while they're there. You've got to give them an experience to say, well, this is non-league football and these are the reasons why. Not, you can have a pint, it's friendly. We want you to be part of us. Not, thanks for your tenner, there's your game, you can stand next to the pitch. You're lucky to be in our grounds. Which some clubs are like that. Or why ain't people coming in? Clubs are like that. If you just go to them, look, this is what we've got. We want you to actually not just come and support us, we want you to be part of our club. We'll get more support.
The problem these days is you're up against so many things. Sort of, if you look at the age group that perhaps you want to come to your games of sort of being sort of 15 to 25-year-olds, because they're going to be there for a long time, they've got some spending power. Kids these days can sit at home, can't they, in their bedroom, they can watch 3 Premier League games, bit of FIFA in between, bit of Fortnite, order a takeaway, and they haven't got to move. It's an effort to get out. But I think one of the things, the first thing that you're looking at with a club is to try and get an atmosphere. And it doesn't take many, but Keith, you get 10 or 12 youngsters behind the goal at your game, one on a bugle, one on a drum, and then they all say, it's a real laugh. We took the mickey out of the other team's goalkeeper and blew the bugle every time he tried to kick the ball. We banged the drum and whatever. And then another 2 go along the following week. And I can imagine that sort of somewhere down at Worthing now, they've got 900, 1,000 people. It's a great atmosphere. So you do get to a stage that if you get a good atmosphere and a good crowd, they're then telling other people, you know, oh, do you want to come along and see Crystal Palace or Brighton or something? And say, no, I'll go down Worthing. What's that all about? Oh, come with me. It's a real good laugh. So, but that initial crowd, you have to work at getting that initial sort of 200 or 300 to build that atmosphere up.
Well, I suppose, turning to you, Steve, I mean, some of the best news that I've heard for a long, long time, I must admit, you know, when we finally get to see that, you know, your great news that you've had just recently, I mean, we won't spoil it. We'll let you tell everybody what it is, because I know a lot of people do know already. But
yeah, well, last week Havering Council voted 8-0 in the somewhat bright sparks. That's the first clean sheet we've had for ages. But Havering Council voted 8-0 to allow Romford to build a community facility in the borough, so a stadium by other names, at a place called Westlands, which is about a mile past the dog track. It backs onto local school, which for us is great. Down the far end is West Ham's training ground, and to the left is the main train line and where Crossrail's going to be. We have had planning permission before, but when we had planning permission before, the council could only give us a 1-year rolling lease because it's Greenbelt. So when we went out to funders, they just sort of laughed at us and said, "You're not going to get any money off of us, not for 1 year. It's too fragile. This is public money. Can't have public money for just a year." Went back to the council and to and froed, and whilst our council has supported us, I think it's fair to say that working with councils can sometimes be slow, because as a football club, it's your main priority. Whereas with a council, they've got 101 other things to do, so they don't always sort of react as quickly as perhaps you'd like. But after some toing and froing, they came back and said, "Look, we can't give you any more than a 1-year rolling lease unless you have it called into the Secretary of State's office," which, for those people that don't know, is your plan goes to the Secretary of State's office along with a supporting statement, and basically it's either yay or nay. So what they're looking at is that the government are against disposal of sports facilities, and as this already has got football pitches on it, it could have been viewed as a disposal. To cut a long story short, Secretary of State's office said, "No, we see what you're doing as an enhancement of an existing sports facility rather than a disposal. So we've got no further interest in it, and the council can give you whatever lease they like." So council voted on it last week. We've got a meeting with the council this week to discuss what the terms of the lease might be, heads of terms, and how long we can have. And then I suppose you could say that this is the easy part. The difficult part is now we've got to go out and find the money. We know it's not going to be easy, but we've got to move forward. And I've always said at this club that before I stood down, walked away or whatever, I would do everything I possibly could to get the club back in the borough. And this is the step that we've got to take. So we'll go back and we'll speak to the funding bodies again, not just the Football Foundation, Sport England, but there's lots and lots of them about. We're working with a company that identifies these and knows them, and then obviously once we go and speak to the funding bodies, once you get the Football Foundation on board, that's a green light for other people. They sort of say, "Oh, well, if they're supporting it, then we'll support it." Once we know what we can get through funding, then obviously the club are going to do some fundraising, but being realistic, everyone knows Romford's position. We're not going to raise, we might get enough for the goalposts, I suppose, but certainly won't get enough for the nets as well. And then obviously we're going to look at trying to get some private investment on board. Now, whether that's through company sponsorship, whether it's through an individual that comes on board, but hopefully now that we've actually got the plans approved, and if we can get some money in place, it might then be attractive to a sponsor. I've sat down with people in the past who have had the money to do it, but really you're selling them a dream. Yeah. Whereas if you're actually selling them something, you say, right, well, this is the model of it, and we're X amount short of getting it built. Do you want to come in and get involved? And then, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there with money that would like to be involved in owning a football club, and as long as we're a good match and they want the same things that we want, then You know, hopefully it can happen.
So have we got plan what the stadium may look like?
We've got a plan. We know what it's going to look like. We know what it's been drawn up by architects and whatever. We haven't got a physical model, but we've got the plans. It's not, should we say, as grand as this. We've had to build it with in sympathy of local sort of development. So it's a relatively low sort of structure, but it ticks all the boxes. It's got the right number of seats. Dressing rooms will be plenty big enough, which is another story. It'll have floodlights with the correct lux rating and what have you. We're looking to put a 3G down in the middle. I've got a bigger booth from Paul Martin for it. Magic's not happy, but he understands the reason behind it. And I think a lot of people. I mean, we've got sort of two academy teams which don't play anywhere near Havering at the moment. We've got all our youth teams, none of them playing Havering at the moment. It would be fantastic to sort of like say your under 13s, wouldn't it? You know, let you're having the stadium this week for your own game. We could then perhaps have a reserves or a 21s. You know, as Peter was saying, although that reduces your revenue stream, you've got to get that community use on there to get in there. And as I say, we're on the footprint
of the community use as well. So
you know, we're on the footprint of a school. We'll be saying to the school, look, you know, after school club, you know, Monday night, you know, anyone want to come along for football training and what have you, and it just opens up a host of other things that you can do. Whereas with a grass pitch, even if it's well maintained, groundsman won't want you trampling on that for sort of 6, 7, 8 hours a week, let alone any more.
No, that's great news, mate. Really appreciate all the hard work you've done over the years, and it's good, like we said, you know, bad story last week, good story this week.
Absolutely.
It's really what you want to hear.
So I mean, everybody at the club buzzing with the news?
Yeah. Magic's really pleased. You know, we've told all the players and sort of tried to, you know, to engage some of the younger ones and sort of say it could, you know, this could be happening. Sort of, you know, you could still be a Romford player when this is happening and what have you. So I'm pleased because we've got a lot of players in the club that have been very loyal to us, and it would be great if we got in there. As Magic's always said, I only want one game. He said, don't sack me before you get there. He said, just one game. He said, let me lead the team out in Romford, in Romford's old stadium. So you sack me at 5:15 and I'll be happy. I mean, I don't think the supporters would be happy if I sacked him at 5:15, but I know what he's saying. You know? And it's the same for us. You know, you want it to happen each year. In fairness, we've sort of said, let's stick with us. It'll probably be this year, and then maybe after a year of being in there, we can look at a budget. Is it going to be this year? And he's been very, very patient. In fairness, so have a lot of supporters.
So if you have the meeting this week, you get what you need out of it, shall we say, from the meeting. How long then would you say before Romford play their first game back in Romford?
It would be a couple of seasons. It's not going to, you know, we're realistic enough, you know. And again, with these funding, I think sometimes without being too derogatory, some of the supporters say, why don't you just go and get $1 million off the lottery? And you sort of say, it's not an A form that you feel. It's not name of organisation. How much do you want? Where do you want it paid? I mean, some of these forms, some of these forms would choke a donkey, wouldn't they? You know, they're 70, 80, 90 pages long. You get one go at it as well. Some of them, you know, they don't give it back saying, well, you was close. You know,
Roger Reed's very good. Helping with funding and things like that as well. And I said we went everywhere. We went London Marathon for funding. They gave us some. FIFA did. Everywhere we went, you know, there's a lot of you can just chip away at it.
And I think the important thing for us is, you know, we'll keep the league involved. You know, I've spoken to Roger a couple of times. Obviously, we'll keep Nick and Craig informed. And again, you know, drawing on sort of, you know, experiences that you guys have had here. You know, who did your pitch and who did this and who did that. And I mean, that's the great thing about non-league is people aren't very, they're not precious about things like that. They will sort of say to you, "Oh, come along and have a look at this," and you know. Even when we were doing the plans, a couple of clubs said, I think we've got our plans from when we built our ground. You know, you can have a look at them and what have you. And Essex County have been very supportive as well. So they're on board. And again, all the councils have got what they call a play and pitch strategy for reaching a certain target. And I think it's fair to say that most councils probably fall behind with the targets that they've got. Because a lot of these so-called 3Gs that are in schools aren't actually 3G, are they? They're the old-fashioned sort of, you know, surfaces, and the five-a-side places aren't proper 3G. So I would imagine that most London boroughs are pretty short on actual full-size 3G pitches.
And of course, you'll have all those 5-a-side leagues and 6-a-side leagues.
I've had people ringing me up already. I mean, the day after we got the news, someone rang me up and said, "Have you chosen the taps for the toilets yet?" And I said, "Well, I'm pretty optimistic and sort of, thinking far ahead, but I haven't actually started designing the taps yet, so no."
Have you got the changing rooms the right size?
They will be the right size, yeah. Well, the right size for what it is now. I don't know if they're going to go up again, but
no, well, we need to talk about it.
I know it's not new. I know everyone's sort of jumping up and down, and I know it's not new, but it's happening, isn't it? And
It's got to happen.
I'm hearing some.
I got interviewed today, and they mentioned it, and we knew 2 years ago.
We spoke about it on the show.
We spoke about it on the show. We've done ours in the summer. We moved ours. It was 21 square metres, not 18. So I don't know where 18's come from.
No.
If they changed it, it's 21 square metres. We had to have 1 square metre, and that doesn't include your showers either. That is just the footprint
Changing
of the
room,
changing room. And Dave, I've gone to some changing rooms. Listen, ours is a walk, right? But the changing room, I've gone to some that you can't even get 15, 11-year-old kids in. And this was done 2 years ago. Yeah, why do you need it? Well, I think that's more important than some of the other stuff you need around your ground. This you change room. Now you've got squads of 16. In FA Cup, you can take extra. Everyone's got all their. There's 22, 23 people getting in the change room now. It needs to be done. The ones that have left it are not even charged, and there was funding as well for this. Okay, the ones that have left it, well, I've got no sympathy for.
I remember when I was kickman at Arlo. I won't say which club it was, but I remember going into one. Well, 2 actually that are now in the league now because they weren't in the league at the time. But you walked into the dressing room and went, "Gee whiz, this is like my bathroom at home's bigger than this." Do you know what I mean? And it was really small. And you'd try and hang the shirts up, and there'd only be like 5 hooks. Do you know what I mean? And Danny Chapman's one of these that wants it all regimental. It's all got to be as it wants. And I suppose as you say, like every manager does. Where do I put them?
Listen, I've over the 2 years since it's got announced, because at one point we thought it should start this year, so we went to the league and Roger was like, "Well, no, get it done just in case." So we got it done by the 31st. But I've actually gone to some clubs over in 2 years. When you're going to do your changing rooms, what about? They're like, "Yeah," and some of them like, "That ain't gonna happen." No, it's happening. It was there. It's been in writing. It's not. But then people go, "Oh, why is the league doing this to us?" It ain't the league. This is an FA requirement.
No, all the league will do is they will implement it and sort of say these clubs have complied and these clubs haven't. I mean, it's a lot of things.
Graded.
I mean, unfortunately, the league get blamed for.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, look, we all think the league are tough on us sometimes, or we all think that the league are picking on us. I mean, I know that's not the case, but sometimes if you're in the wrong or your club's being, sort of having to toe the line, well, why are you picking on me for discipline? Oh, well, because yours is worse than anyone else's. But, a lot of these things, it's not the league, it's the FA. And what the league's responsibility is to implement what the FA's rules and regulations.
So when does this has to be done by the end of this season?
31st of March. Ground grading.
Right. So
on the 31st.
So that again, with what we were saying about the Jigsaw League and all the rest of it, this could really sort of
any club that hasn't got it done on the 31st of March, if they're in the playoffs, won't be allowed in the playoffs, and then they will be relegated.
Wow.
Now, how that acts with other relegation, that's obviously got to be as well as, hasn't it? I can't imagine it could be. So if you say, for example...
Well, all I can remember, and it happened to VCD, if you remember.
Yeah. Over the gravel path?
Yeah, the gravel path, and it was told, again, I was told, that it passed and then it had to be concrete, and it didn't get done in time, and they got relegated. The floodlights going back even further, when every team had to get told with floodlights, and people, I got relegated. Everything. There will no be appeals. There will be no, and that's nearly 21 square metres. But they are the league rules.
So how many?
Not legal. Sorry, they are the FA rules.
So how many clubs out of the 82 that are in our league would you say are under threat?
10%.
It's 8 to 10.
Maybe more.
It's difficult because sometimes you go to, and I'm not going to mention clubs, but sometimes it's sometimes difficult with the regulations because they are, shall we say, tick boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been to some. I mean, you come here, and this will get a grading of X. Well, not X because X is the grade, but you'll get a grading, and then you'll go somewhere else, and they'll say, "Oh, we've got a C grade." I think, blimey, Haverley's only got. But because you've got it's lovely and new, and you've got all these whistles and bells. What they do is they go, right, okay, has it got 150 seats? Yes, it's got 150 seats. Right, well, that's a tick. Well, your 150 seats could be beautifully sort of tiered and what have you. And it's the same with the changing rooms. It's 21 square metres. I don't think anywhere it tells you what that configuration's got to be. Now, you would hope as a visiting team that configuration would be a nice square, wouldn't you? So you can hang your shirts up. If it's 21 square metres, but it tapers off into a wedge, it's 21 square metres.
And this is, again, this is what the only sympathy for clubs, okay? And this will go back to the old Thamesmead. And you're going to have this as well. When we went to the FA and Football Foundation, whatever, for the funding, they gave us the money, or stay for the stadium improvement or whatever, that the funding was significant for your level and the level above. So maybe at that time it could have been 18 square metres. Right? So say that a new build was built then, and then in 5 years' time, the FA changed it and went, well, now you need 25. You'd look and go, well, okay, look, they got their funding, they built a new ground, they got it for that. That would be the only way I'd go, look, I'm sorry. But as I said, everyone knew this 2 years ago. If they haven't done it, I don't see what all the song and dance is about.
What happens if you've got a situation where it's physically impossible? I'm not saying there is any club out there. What happens if there's dressing rooms that are there that are physically impossible for them to actually make any bigger without them costing them a
you knew 2 years ago.
They panicked 2 years ago.
Well, so I'll be it was actually someone sent us a message and said it was 5 years ago we were told. So you would look Portakabin. When you go to most grounds, listen, they've got a little room, they've got something, like I said, we were going to knock through one wall, we had a cylinder we had to take out, right? But we was going to knock through a few walls, put a bit up, bosh, done, recarpet it. But if you've got them that small anyway, Dave, there's a problem. And I know there's a couple, and I've gone, they're going to really struggle here. They're going to really struggle here. And there's a team that's coming out of the league this year, and I've been down there at the beginning of the season and went, oh dear, what are you going to do? I don't know. I really don't know. Sympathy. I
mean, if they're an integral part of a building, and you've got, I don't know, you say the boiler one side, the kitchen the other side, a fire door the other side, then you can't physically make that box any bigger. But then, as you say, they then have to look at, well, do we put them somewhere else? Do we make the changing rooms now the club shop, and we knock down the club shop and put? Look, that's easy for me to say. I'm not able to do it, but.
And like I said, people are going to go, yeah, it's expensive for clubs, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. But you can't be lastminute.com. 5 years is 5 years, you know what you've got to do. If you want to play this level, go above. It's like, not being funny, you win the league, you go up, by the 31st of March, you've got to get your ground ready to stay in that league.
Well, you're looking, I mean...
Now, you've got a year to do that.
And let's be honest, you've got, 4 months? 4 months, and out of those 4 months, 2, maybe 3 weeks can be taken out for Christmas and New Year. Because they can be working over New Christmas and New Year.
You can't start smashing your changing rooms up now, can you? Because you need them. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. That's why we don't have it. So it was like that. And like I'm saying, it's difficult, but if you get promoted, you've got 1 year to get your ground. And it's all right, they're not major. Some are to some clubs to stay in the league. You've got to do it. So if you want to progress, that's it.
But would the easiest way out just be, right, say, oh, look...
I've been putting weight on Dave, so I can use these extra rooms.
But what I'm saying is, could it be a situation where some clubs just go, right, okay, look, what room behind the back of the goal or whatever else, we'll just go out and get 2 Portakabins, whack them behind there, and everybody's
they've still got to meet.
Still got to have running water.
Still got to meet an electric. They've still got to meet the criteria. But as long as it ticks boxes, but the referees have got to be there, things like that. As long as it, but they ain't going to have one change room over in one corner or one in the other, and the referees sliding down the roof. It's got to be done properly. But all these clubs, if they want, they will find a way. They always do. You cut your cloth accordingly, and you do it. But we spent quite a bit of money on that. People will laugh on our changing rooms this year, revamping them because they've been run down. And I've said many a time we've been like Thingy Bob's broom out of Only Fools and Horses. Trigger's broom. He's had so many new floors in our place, and we've redone them all again and just tightened them up. We spent a lot of our time and effort, and we moved the changing room a little bit. We've done it up. Don't get me wrong, they're not a palace by any means, but it ticks the box and it works, and that's what clubs are going to have to do.
I mean, no one's going to want to get relegated because they haven't got the deep right size changing rooms, are they? I mean, if you want to get promoted because you're one of the best sides in the division, and if you're going to get relegated, again, you don't want it to be on any technicality, do you? You want to get relegated because you lost more games than everyone else, or you got least points.
But if he was a betting man, is there going to be at least one?
Definitely.
I mean, I don't not for the sake of the clubs, but as Keith says, if you need it done and you haven't started yet, then time's not on your side, is it?
I've got one for you.
Okay.
This is for step 3 or 4, I think. Is that right? Okay. Step 4. Club ain't got it. Right? Gets relegated. The winners of step 5 come up. They ain't got it either.
Don't you get a season to...
Well, yeah, but how's that going to... If you're getting relegated because you ain't got it, and they've come up because they've got it, whoa.
I think I saw somewhere else as well, that if you can't get the changing rooms up to the adequate size, that you would then have to play somewhere else that has got an adequate size. So I don't know if that would be... So I don't know if, say, for example, you could go and ground share with another club while you was having them made bigger. But then no one's going to want to go and play a whole season at another ground and leave theirs dormant.
Is that moving,
Is that a get out of jail free card?
Well, it's not just that. It's not because they're not getting any revenue on it, and it's costing them. But on the other side of it, is that going against the short? Can you have a short-term lease because you change it? Obviously, I always thought there was 1 or 2 year lease you had to have.
I mean, it wouldn't benefit the league or benefit the FA or the clubs themselves if there was mass relegation. I know you've got.
It's not the league, though.
No. But what I'm saying is, it wouldn't help the league, would it? For restructuring. So the FA suddenly said
this restructuring didn't help the league either, so it don't matter, does it?
If you suddenly had to lose 5 or 6 teams, then that would, that, again, no one would want that to happen. But we all know how inflexible the FA can be. If they've got the rules,
you would mostly find that teams below would take their place that mostly have got adequate changes.
Yeah.
I think the best thing when you go into a ground, you go, the first thing you look at is the pitch, great pitch. Then and as players, the next thing you do look at is the changing rooms. You're going to, at least there's somewhere like you come in here, decent changing rooms, and all new builds. Yeah. They're all right, they're decent, and then obviously the rest of the surroundings come with it. I just think I think it's only going to bode better with. I think it's got to happen. Like I said, the size of the squads now. The levels we're getting at, I think it did have to happen anyway. Everyone who used to moan about changing rooms and go, oh my God. I remember, I know they've changed them, like when I went to Potter's Bar the first time. And on the away changing room, they used to have the washing machine in the toilet, and you were standing there having a pee while the kit was going round. And you used to sit there and think, whoa, if you just lost, you used to sit there and think, I could get my own back here, right? And the showers were you're showering next to your clothes. And they've changed it. And fair play. Obviously, every club when they come up the pyramid, obviously, you have what you have, and we understand that. But the grants are there for a lot, and I just think it isn't. There's been a lot of hoo-ha over nothing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Dan Richardson's sent a message in saying big changing rooms in Wales. He
Long way to go, don't
yeah, I know. Yeah. He says he misses.
Can't put all over his eyes.
Oh dear. He says I miss the old Romford and Thurrock games. Andy Wilkins has said, given how crucial changing rooms are to making sure a team know their tactics, their routines, etc., it's vital to make them into a fortress that you can be comfortable in, especially at home during the cold winter days when it's just above freezing.
Some teams still don't have heaters and that in there. Listen, I know you've got to have I'd like to see make it a little bit more professional. Everyone's got to have a tactic ball put on the wall in the away changing room so they can use. You don't have to carry that. I think obviously you've got your bench in there for the physio. That's a great thing that's been brought in. You're just trying to make it more professional for everyone. And people say about professionalism leagues and things like that. You can't do that, and I just think it's nice. You should be able to go into every single away club. Yep, different facilities, and like I said, some could be Rolls Royce and some could be not, but all them facilities there. You've got your tactics board on the wall. You've got this. People come in and draw on your wall, and just make it easy for them.
I suppose one last question before we go tonight is you're talking about your new stadium, etc., etc. Do the league have to sign off on the new stadium as well? So I know the FA possibly have to look at it and go, yeah, that's okay. Would the league then look at it as well?
Well, the
and
league
go,
will come round, but if it ticks the boxes, it ticks the boxes, doesn't it? I would say. But
you'd have them involved anyway because you'd want their advice. So I mean, you don't want to spend a lot of money building something and then don't get the ground grading because you haven't got something in place.
Then on the other side, then on the other side of it, you could say, well, do I need to? Because come the end of the season, you could be shafted over to another league, so you just don't know.
Could be in the bits and bobs league.
Yeah, you could be in the jigsaw league.
Oh, dear me. I just looked at the time. The time has absolutely flown by yet again. We say it every week, but this week it has, absolutely flown by. With a massive thank you to Pete, of course, the chairman from Worthing, for joining us earlier on, and of course to Steve, because Steve's always an absolute pleasure to have you in, sir, whenever you come in. And we are over the moon for you and for the club as well for your news.
Well done. Really good.
And hope everything goes okay with there. And of course, massive thank you again to Keith as well for tonight. And of course, next week we've got Chris with us.
Yeah, Chris from Hastings is coming in. Obviously after their big game at the weekend, I'm sure that'll be a good talking point, and he'll let us know how well they're doing as well.
And Steve Salas is coming in the following week.
Steve, his book got launched last week. Steve's a friend of mine. Very interesting to talk to Steve. His football knowledge is great. He's a good player as well, but that would be really good.
Yeah, he's coming in a fortnight's time. But hopefully everybody gets the results they want at the weekend. And of course, don't forget, you can join me and Paul Wickenden and two new hosts on Friday night for the Isthmian preview show. So make sure you join us for that as well on Friday night. But me and Keith will be back same time next week. But until then, good night.